Tipped to the seats by Burke. Good attack. Met by strong resistance. It's still 3-1 Devils.
Here's the Calgary Flames mean business tonight in Inglewood, California, because they're already up 2-0. This blast off the stick of Brad McCrimmon. McCrimmon's goal makes it 2-0 Calgary early in the first period in Los Angeles. And just a few moments ago at the Winnipeg Arena, Wayne Gretzky and the boys skated off the ice with a 5-3 victory. Winnipeg trailing Edmonton now 3-1 in that series going back to Edmonton Tuesday night. Let's get back to New Jersey, Mike.
If the Devils go on to take this one, there could be a clincher Tuesday night at the Nassau Coliseum.
You know what happens, Mike, when you end up in a situation like this, and we talked about the uncharted waters, and I said they've all been charted now. The Devils have played, they've all played in the playoffs, they've all played at home in the playoffs and on the road. The only thing they haven't done is try and protect a 2-goal lead going into the third period. And one of the symptoms of a team that really starts to stray is every time they get the puck in their zone, they fire it around the boards. They just dump it up the boards. The Islanders know that, especially a guy like Dennis Potvin. He is going to stand in, I'm sure, as are most of the Islanders' defensemen, and pick off those lame duck passes and those dumps up the boards. The Devils have to focus on moving the puck out of the zone the way they do it at the start of the game when the score is 0-0. And that means use the entire ice surface. Watch for them to continue to dump it up the boards. That's all they've been doing. The Islanders have had more success in holding them in so far in this third period than they have in the whole series.
Jim Schoenfeld, longtime member of the Buffalo Sabres, also played some for Boston, coached Buffalo for a while, watching from his team's bench, resplendent with the suspenders. LaFontaine for the faceoff with Johnson. The Johnson-McLean combination with Sundstrom has been responsible for 7 of the Devils' 12 goals. Conroy starts back in. Danico checked off. Wolanin forces it behind, and it's at the back of the net and held. By contrast, that big line still has not connected for a goal. Muller, Verbeek, and Broughton have been sewn up so far, as you see the big defenseman, Craig Wolanin.
You know, during the regular season, the big line for the Devils, the Muller line, had 25 points in 7 games against the Islanders. Tonight, Muller had an assist. Last night, Kurt Muller also had an assist. So, thus far in these 4 games, the Muller line has 2 points. They have not been held off the scoreboard goal-wise in 4 consecutive games all year. And the Islanders are 14 minutes and 28 seconds away from doing that.
Here is Conroy. Back over for Janssen, shot. And that one blocked by Danico. A great screen had been set up by Kerr in front of Burke. Puck flipped into Danico, and Kerr hurried a shot, but that off the bulky defenseman Ken Danico. Kerr continues to work. Wolanin tries to pump it ahead. Gets it to McLean, and he flipped one out. Thomas Janssen to retrieve for the Islanders. Gives it up at the line to Wolanin. Then to John McLean, and it's sent down. Janssen strides back to get it. This will be an icing play, and again, the faceoff will come back near Sean Burke with 13:54 to go in the third. We'll watch for the trends to conservatism on the part of the Devils. I guess some of it is certainly to be expected. You try to be a little tighter, but you also want to worry about whether you're getting any kind of offense generated or whether it's just constantly they're coming at you in waves.
Another symptom of a team that tightens up a little bit in this situation is they do things when they don't have to. In other words, they have a little more time than they think. During other situations, they just go ahead and take their time and they actually see the ice a little better. But now at this stage of the game, a lot of these younger players will think that they don't have enough time to execute, and they will get rid of the puck a little too quickly.
Islanders pressing Devils into the boards. Puck comes back to Leiter, and that one blocked off by Brown. So back to get it is Morrow, and Bill, we just saw an example of what you were talking about.
Right up the boards. The defensemen just stand there.
Holding this one is Leiter. Teams are at even strength. 13:30 to go in the third period. As Leiter shovels one over to Morrow, then to Mikko Makala. Moving out with Henry, Makala fires. Trache moving around with Cirella. Linesman in the way, he goes down. They continue to muscle for it, and it is Loisel trying to kick it away. Cirella flips through Trache and along to Perry Anderson. Leiter moves across, dumps it away from Doug Brown. Belichick and Brown, and now Belichick just decides to pull it away and hand to Joe Cirella. Cirella pivoting from Henry. Henry trying to work on him, and Cirella prevails, but only for a moment. Everyone looking for it, and may have gone out of play. That apparently is what happened, and so a neutralized face-off. Nope, they'll keep it back near the Devils goaltender. It's a question of where it had gone and also who's caused it to go out. But apparently it was the Devils who deflected it last.
5 goals and 15 assists for 20 points. Those aren't huge totals by any means. But Henry is one of the strong Islander wingers, and they have so many good checking wingers that they're difficult to score goals on. That has always been one of their trademarks. They just don't have the firepower that they once had.
Diddick with a shot. Stopped by Burke. He punches at it, and it's popped in the air. Sutter pressed by Broughton. Centering pass by Lauer, and that denied by Kerbers, or Dalgarno would have had a good chance. Lauer rushed from behind by Muller. Moves in. Dishes off to Sutter. Sutter spins one in front. Quick shot is blocked away by Burke. As Dalgarno let go a good one in front, and the puck is cleared out of play. Oh, man. It is a 2-goal Devil lead, but almost back to 1.
It's amazing how things break down when you start running around. Kirk Muller overskated the puck. All of a sudden, the Islanders had a 2-on-1 on Tom Kerbers. Brent Sutter has been so strong around the net. There's the one that Burke saved on Dalgarno, number 17 from the slot. And the Islanders continue to pour it on. Here's another look at it. You can see Bruce Driver on the right, 23 for the Devils in white. He had to make a choice. Well, he went for the guy that was closer, seeing at 16, Pat Verbeek was coming back in to get Dalgarno. It's going to be a long 12 minutes if the Devils want to play it in their end. They don't want to, but they're running around. They're not reacting like a poised team right now. This is the area that they've never had to perform, a situation they've never had to perform in. And so far, to me, they're not passing the test. The Islanders are all over them.
Good point, Bill. Devils are shotless in this period. 12-14 to go in it. The Islanders have had 5. Puck drilled out of play, and so once more they'll do it. Saw a moment ago at the last stoppage, Terry Simpson of the Islanders. Now our focus goes on the rather calm Jim Schoenfeld, coach of the New Jersey Devils, and you see the players at the bench, many of them grizzled with those playoff beards that began long before the playoffs started.
You know, this is probably something that a coach wouldn't endorse, but if you have a defenseman that you know has the legs, well,
Johnson shot wide.
If you have a defenseman that has the legs, now is not a bad time to let him simply lug it out of the zone himself.
Ken Danico wedges one back down. No icing, they say, on this one, so Thomas Johnson will go back and have to move it. Deals it off, and Loisel is there. Taken right to the boards by Randy Wood. Pivoting with it and trying to step away was Doug Brown, held back by Conroy. Conroy able to prevail along to Basson, and then it is yanked by Crom to Randy Wood, who leads it on in. Wolanin, as shovel pass out in front, had to be trapped by Burke. So again, a face-off in the Devils zone when we come back. 11:34 to go in the third. 3-1 New Jersey.
In Chicago, the St. Louis Blues have tied up the Chicago Blackhawks again, trailing 5-4. Paul Cavallini to Tony Herkus, and the first-year man from North Dakota has the hat trick. St. Louis and Chicago tied at 5 in the third. Mike and Bill.
Thank you, Tom. Here it is 3-1, New Jersey leading, but playing most of this period in its own end. That's where play is right now, and King keeps it away. Out in front, it rolled right up the arm of Alan Kerr. McLean steps ahead. One man back, it's Leiter. Saved by Rudy. He doesn't see it. But King got there. Belichick. He'll hold this one. Anu runs through the crowd of 19,096.
You know, Kelly has to be a little tight. These are the first shots on him in this period, and we've played just about half the period. McLean comes down on Leiter, takes a wrister that gets through him. Watch it sit right behind him. Kelly's looking up. Now he looks back. He's poised and ready, but for what?
That was the first Devils shot on goal, and it came with about 9 minutes gone in this period. Kirk Muller will be in to take, to my recollection, the only offensive zone faceoff the Devils have had in this period with Bryan Trottier. And it's to the veteran Denis Potvin. Up for Makela, checked tightly by Driver. The puck escapes to Curvers. And Didick will chase once more. We've seen so many examples of what Bill was mentioning of pucks being driven to the boards and out. Back we go now to Tom Mees.
Lots of action, Mike, at the Forum in Los Angeles. The Calgary Flames already leading 2-0. Now watch defenseman Tom Laidlaw of the Kings. He actually knocks the puck into his own net. They credit the goal to Gordy Roberts of the Calgary Flames. But right back come the LA Kings. Dave Taylor with a backhander. He was tied up with Mike Vernon. Vernon wants interference. He didn't get it. Calgary 3, LA 1 first period. Mike?
Thank you. Later, Bill and I will pick the Hartford Insurance Player of the Game, and Tom will have the 7-Up play of the night. That'll come from action all around the NHL. And, boys, he had a good look at a lot of it tonight. And thanks to his work and that of our crew back there, so have we. Another toss down the ice by the Devils. And this is Makela. Teams are at even strength. No power play on. Devils ahead in the game by a count of 3-1. Aaron Broughton wanted to get it to Sullivan, but the Islanders rushed him. 2 against 1. They still try to work, but it is Muller. Broughton hit again, this time by Didick. In comes Muller. Wrapped up and spun off by Makela. Denis Potvin steps toward it, but it's locked up in skates. Still they waltz around, and it is Trottier finessing to Potvin. Potvin just rolls it back into the New Jersey end of the ice. Sullivan going back, locked up with Trottier. They have a man moving to the slot. They wanted to get it to Johnsson, but Muller was in the way. This will be icing. Conroy goes back. Play will be brought near Burke once more with 9:34 to go in the third. The score of the game, the Devils 3, the Islanders 1.
Right now, get customer cash from...
Ready once more in that New Jersey end, and Sean Burke has seen a good deal of this. We don't want to drive this crazily, but Bill has pointed out that this is sometimes what a team that doesn't quite have a lot of experience will tend to do. A lot of pucks being iced and driven along the boards. Danico steps around, angles one over that Conacher is able to tap further. It is Doug Brown driving, and Kelly Rudy stopping. Johnsson to get it. Hands on to Conroy. 9 minutes to go in the third. Brent Sutter angles. Back to get it is Conacher. The forechecker is Lauer. He drifts away, but Brent Sutter doesn't. Puck just tipped back further by Brown. Shift change on for New Jersey. Lauer back. Big drive. Grabbed and then turned aside by Burke. Sorella is there, but cutting it off is Lauer. Lauer keeps play moving. Checked tightly by Johnsson. In comes Morrow to tap it, but Sorella is there. That one hit off a stick out front. They score! Brent Sutter has brought the Islanders back to within one.
Finally, one time with the Devils trying to move it all the way around the horn, around the boards, they got caught. Joe Sorella tried to smash it around the boards, and it hit a stick and bounced right out in front of Sean Burke. Watch Sorella. There he goes. It hits the Islander stick who's behind the net. I think it's Randy Wood right out in front. Sean Burke is looking behind. He still can't believe that the thing bounced out in front of him. Lauer did a good job along the boards, and the Islanders have been keeping play along the boards and been very successful with it. Brent Sutter finally scores his first goal of the playoffs. He's had enough chances.
Wood with the assist, and now he has the puck and drops it back in. We welcome our viewers from Canada who've joined us here on ESPN. The Devils got the first 3. Kerr for the Islanders scoring late in the second period. The Devils have gone conservatively in the third. Leiter's shot is snagged and held by Sean Burke. He's seen most of the work, and most of the play has been in his end of the ice here in period 3. Brent Sutter's first. We would imagine that Wood will get an assist. He wasn't accorded one with the announcement, but that could be added later. So it is Driver and McLean on the power play, and Brown scoring for New Jersey. Kerr and that man Brent Sutter for New Jersey, or rather for the Islanders.
If you saw a team that looked a little tight in this first 12 minutes of the third period, we're down to 8:01 to play. Watch the Devils now. Things are real tight. They only have a 1-goal lead. The Islanders have let them try and bring the puck out all the way around the boards, and they have sealed them off. 90% of the play in this period has been in the Devils' zone.
Trottier ready for the face-off with Kirk Muller. Back to Potvin. Slugs one that ricocheted off Sullivan and wide. Broughton tried to lay it out, but Makela was there. Off Henry. Gets it from Trottier. Feeds over to Mikko Makela. Makela has Potvin breaking, but it's tipped away by Wolanin. Henry taps. Trottier tried to play it in deep. Muller wanting to clear. Gets it as far as neutral ice, and Broughton will carry on. Sullivan feeds across the goal mouth wide as Muller taken out gently by Potvin. The puck kicks right back to them. Broughton banks one for Muller. Spun off by Potvin. Sullivan shouldered to the corner by Diddick. We welcome our viewers in Canada to this tight game now. The Devils had a lead of 3-0, but it has evaporated to 3-2 over the Islanders with 7:10 to go in the third. Doug Sullivan working, giving to New Jersey's Kirk Muller. Muller spins, has Conacher and Sullivan out front, but can't get it to him because of the checking of Diddick. Curvers with a wrist shot that's directed wide. An aggressive game, an aggressive series. Conacher hits Trottier. Curvers shot off Henry. Shoveled back to Curvers. Fires again. Knocked down by Trottier. Down goes Brown. Up with it is Muller. Couldn't get it in front. Another shot is held by Rooney. The net had already been dislodged.
If the Devils can hang on, they can start thanking Tom Curvers and Bruce Driver right now. Great plays by both of them. The Devils are hanging on. They lead by 1.
Look back.
You're on the road to the Stanley Cup with ESPN. 3-2. Capacity crowd here at the Meadowlands Arena as Burke has to hold on for a toss that came to the front. His team is ahead in the game. So far in this period, the Devils have had 4 shots. The Islanders have had 8.
Randy Wood was the man that was digging in for the Islanders. He just chipped it in front. Had it not deflected off a skate, it would have come right out in front of Sean Burke, and number 10, Alan Kerr, was digging for it. Well, the Devils knocked off about a minute and a half in the Islanders zone. It was because of the play of Driver and Tom Curvers. They played it as if the score was early in the game, didn't care about what the score was. They moved in when they had to. They held their ground on the blue line when they had to and didn't panic. Very often the tendency is to say, I can't go in, it might cost us. You have to read the play accurately, even at this stage of the game.
LaFontaine wins it to Janssen. Big drive went wide. In to get it is Conroy. Boomed by Wolanin, and Conroy's helmet pops off. Puck kept though by the Islanders. It's Conroy with a falling shot, and it went just wide. Burke did not see it. Back up with it comes Sundstrom. Moves in with John McLean. Sundstrom taken out of the play by Wood. Play continues. Fans are booing. A pass across 2 lines. Stops play.
Well, so far in this playoffs, I would say that Ron Hogarth is the first man that's calling it the way he did during the regular season. I've seen 2 or 3 plays that could have been called penalties that he has called earlier in the game. Ron Hogarth is the only guy we've seen that hasn't called it the same at the end of a tight game as he has throughout the early stages of the game.
Other scores tonight, gentlemen, around the NHL. Buffalo wins it in overtime. That series tied at 2. Philadelphia wins in overtime. They lead Washington 3-1. Detroit obliterates Toronto 8-0. Red Wings lead at 3-1. Hartford stays alive. They beat Montreal, but the Canadiens still in command there. Edmonton wins a tough one in Winnipeg. They lead that series 3-1. St. Louis, Chicago, 5-5, third period, Chicago Stadium. The LA Kings trail Calgary 3-1, still in the first period in a fight-filled game in Inglewood. Now let's go back to the Meadowlands.
Well, your assessment is right on with Ron Hogarth, Bill. Officials were cautioned at the beginning of the year. New arrangement here. We're going to call them all the way throughout. And the standard that was set during the regular season has been maintained by most in the playoffs. But it is looser here from the start to the finish by Hogarth tonight. Puck tapped back along by Brown. Lauer stepped into once and twice by Loisel. Tries to get it further. It forces Velishek in. Hit by Dalgarno. Pinching is Morrow. Morrow has it. Behind for Dalgarno. It kicked over for Dalgarno to Sutter. Save! Rebound popped up in the air. What a shot by Brent Sutter.
Kenny Morrow started the whole thing by pinching in. Once again, the Devils try and wheel it around the boards. The Islanders take it away.
Here's Morrow for the Islanders, handing on to Makela. Trying to pivot from Driver. Able to move in and hand over to Sutter. A shot challenged by the pad of Burke. Tapped over to Potvin. Shovels for a shot by Makela. Score! Lauer on the rebound. And this one is tied.
You can only play in your end so long. Sooner or later, the wheels fall off. And that's exactly what has happened to the Devils in this period. Brent Sutter slides one on the pass from Dennis Potvin. Well, Sutter is in front. The shot came from over in the boards. Brad Lauer was standing there with no one near him. It was just an easy tap-in for him to tie this game. The shot comes from Makela over by the boards. There you see it. Sutter is in front. Lauer is in front, and the only defender is Doug Sullivan, and the Islanders have tied it.
Makela and Potvin get the assists on Lauer's first of the playoffs. But more importantly, the Islanders have erased a 3-goal deficit in the span of about 16 minutes of playing time. We're tied at 3. Moving on is Bob Basson. Flips one that glanced by the shoulder of Crom and is brought back up by Curvers. Janssen checked by Verbeek. Starting in is Tom Curvers. Curvers a pass, but Janssen was back checking and cuts it off. Thomas Janssen up the wing for Alan Kerr, but it's off his stick and slugged back by Danico. Neutralized collision, and out of it comes Curvers with a pass to Johnson. Can't step by Janssen. Steve Conroy for the Islanders quickly. LaFontaine ahead to Lauer, and LaFontaine is hurt. Was he ever hit? Now John McLean is being challenged.
He was looking at his pass. LaFontaine wheeled out of his zone, made a pass, watched it. I think he's okay. And McLean let him have it with a vicious side swipe.
One of the rare quiet times in this period as they tend to LaFontaine. We'll take a break with 4:08 to go in the third. A 3-3 tie.
3-0 early with a score 3-1 on the power play. Bernie Nichols lets it go. Luc Robitaille screens in front. Nichols gets the goal. The Kings are back within 1, 3-2. Calgary still leading. In Chicago, the St. Louis Blues have just taken a lead on another goal by Tony Herkus. It is St. Louis up by 1. We'll get to it later. Now let's go back to New Jersey.
Well, LaFontaine seems to be all right. He had a knee injury in the first period of game 2, but returned for the second. We don't know where this shot by McLean was registered, really, but he'll rest at the bench, and they have out Makela, Trottier, and Henry as the front line. Morrow and Leiter in back. Danico and Wolanin. The two crunchers in back for New Jersey. McLean, Johnson, Sundstrom up front. 4 minutes to go. Hand pass ruled, and so a stoppage of play. If they remain tied, it's a full-length intermission, followed by the first of what can be a number of sudden death overtimes. But normally in Stanley Cup play, it only goes 1. Let's go back to Tom Mees.
All right, Mike, let's take a look at Tony Herkus' 4th goal of the night. Shorthanded situation. Blackhawks on the power play at Chicago Stadium. Herkus beats Darren Pang to the wide side of the stick side at St. Louis 6, Chicago 5. Late in the third, let's get back to New Jersey.
Devils are back deep. Sorella to play. shift change has brought out Cirella to work with Randy Velishek, and Cirella goes up the middle. He wanted to get McLean, but got the end boards and an icing call instead. 3:40 to go. And Terry Simpson makes another change. He'll bring out Dennis Potvin and Gerald Diddick to watch the points. Up front, he'll have some pretty aggressive guys too, and Brent Sutter with Lauer and Dalgarno. And that's been the line that was involved in the 2 goals. The one that got them back to within 1 and the one that tied it. Art player par excellence. Brent Sutter in for this draw with Loisel. Puck back to Potvin. Fires, and it's blocked away by the stick of Berg. Velishek looking for an opening. The pass is too far for Brown. They say no icing on this one, however. Rudy taps it back along to Dalgarno. Dalgarno feathers a pass to Brent Sutter. It's popped for Lauer, but gloved by Cirella. Loisel punches it in deep and goes to get it, but Diddick is there. Brown pinches the boards, but can't control. Puck over to Potvin. Boy, he hurried to pass across, and Dalgarno wasn't quite ready. Brown wants to center. Hopping away is Perry Anderson. To Loisel! And that one over the crossbar. Cirella drops it back, but it's taken by Potvin. Potvin's pass knocked down by Lauer. Oh, he had Brent Sutter moving ahead. Did you notice? Now Lauer can move in himself. Chased down by 3 of the Devils, and the play taken by Brown. Brown just flops it back. Janssen able to punch it away from Aaron Broughton. 2.5 to go in regulation time. 3-3 tie here at the Meadowlands Arena. Devils lead the series 2-1. Starting back in is Muller. Wedged by Wood. LaFontaine in to get it. Lost it to the checking of Verbeek. It's rolled by Janssen, taken by Kerbers. Sent right back in the same direction. Muller turning. Backhands one, and Rudy just holds on. And the clock is down to even smaller numbers, 2:05 left.
You know, the Islanders are capable of tightening up a little bit too deep in their zone. A couple of times in this last minute, the Devils have been putting on the pressure, and the Islanders have been the team that has tried to move the puck around the boards. And it seems like it's safe, but it's so safe that it's easy to read and easy to choke off.
Morrow and Leiter come back out. Bruce Driver and Kerbers, a combination that has performed really well tonight for New Jersey, will be in back. Muller and Broughton and Verbeek. The line looking for its first goal for New Jersey. And how they dearly love to get it right here. Broughton flips. It is off Leiter, but he recovers and starts it right back out. Leiter unwinds for the Makela side, but it bounced to Kerbers. Morrow checked off by Verbeek, but the drop came to Morrow, who rolled it under Trottier. Bruce Driver hands over to Kerbers. 1:40 to go. 2-line pass against New Jersey. The pass out of the defensive zone cannot go across the red line after a player, and that's what happened that time.
Bruce Driver makes a nice play here. His underrated play this entire series, I think, should show everybody that he's an outstanding defenseman. There it was. It just hit the back of Kurt Muller as he was crossing center. If it's onside, he's got Pat Verbeek grappling with someone, and it's kind of a semi 2-on-1, but not this time. Faceoff comes all the way back inside the zone, and John McLean and Dennis Potvin are having words. LaFontaine and McLean are having words. And it was McLean that sideswiped LaFontaine. This is his first appearance back on the ice.
Alan Kerr there to have a few words with McLean, too. Saw an eruption from the fans. That wasn't prompted by the scoreboard, just became very spontaneous. That's the type of crowd that's here, and they're chanting now, "Let's go Devils." Wolanin and Danico are in back, and it is Craig Wolanin losing a centering pass and score! LaFontaine, and the tie is broken.
Who would you think you would most want to tie up once the puck is dumped into the zone? I know who I would want to tie up. That man, Pat LaFontaine. I'm watching this as it happens, and I see the Devils win the draw. At number 10, Alan Kerr goes to forecheck where LaFontaine could have gone first. LaFontaine let Kerr go for a good reason. Kerr's a better forechecker. Makela moves in on the right side. There's Kerr doing the big work in there, and here comes Mikko Makela. What an outstanding pass. He threads it right through a Devils defenseman, and Pat LaFontaine from that range, he can't miss. Sean Burke couldn't do a thing about it, and the Islanders have staged yet another comeback. You can't count them. You don't have enough hands, fingers, and toes to count the comebacks in the playoffs that the New York Islanders have made. Outstanding effort by the guys in blue in this third period.
Absolutely. Mikko Makela, who had been silenced in games 2 and 3, has set up not only the tying but the go-ahead goal for the Islanders here in period 3. 4-3 the score, 90 seconds to go. As it gets closer to that minute mark, we can expect that if the Devils can get it out of their own zone, Sean Burke will come for the extra attacker. Some debris tossed on the ice, and so that will slow things down a little bit.
That big cork seems to have bobbed to the surface again. That Islander cork just can't keep it submerged forever. Sooner or later it bobbed to the surface, and has it ever bobbed to the surface here? The Islanders, really, the poise that they have developed over the last season and a half. Remember what they went through in the playoffs last year? Did they put that to work in the third period here? Workmanlike, contain the Devils, take advantage of a lot of guys that are out there with jittery hands, just trying to jam it around the boards. And the Islanders have pecked away, pecked away. I haven't seen any urgency on the Islanders' part. They have just done a workmanlike job, waited for their chances and jammed them in. They have forced the turnovers, too. If we go back, you have this on tape, go back and watch the third period and watch the turnovers that the Islanders have forced in the third period.
Boy, and there are 3 significant guys out there that have done a lot of it. Alan Kerr was involved in bothering Danica, or rather Wolanin just a moment ago, so that Makela could play out front to LaFontaine. He stays out. Sutter will be the center, and Brent Sutter not only scored a goal, nearly scored one to tie it, and then was out at the time when the Islanders did break the tie.
You know what else you'd see if you watch the third period is a lot of unforced turnovers. The Islanders have forced them when they've had a chance. The Devils have coughed it up lots in their zone.
1:30 left. Belichick to Cirella. Morrow will go back. It is tapped by Rudy to him. And that one went through Belichick and down. They say no icing. So Sean Burke will tend it to Cirella. 1:15 to go. Burke may watch this play and then head for the bench. We'll see. Belichick, one hands it ahead, but they can't get it in the zone. Burke is still in his cage. Cirella pivoting away from Kerr. Rolls it back up. Moving ahead now is Broughton. Broughton dumps it in, and Burke is coasting halfway out, but is still not left. Crom plays it through Kerr and back down. There'll be an icing touch-up by Driver. And now Burke can leave the crease.
Burke is standing down there just staring at Jim Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld hasn't pulled him out yet. Oh, he has to. He's got 46 seconds to go. Is he going to wait till he gets possession? Yeah, now he's motioning around to Sean Burke. He had just, I guess Schoenfeld assumed it was a foregone conclusion that Burke would know to come over. He was setting up his alignment at the other end, and Sean Burke was standing in the crease looking over.
So one of the wonderful things about this sport as opposed to any other, you can change so much of the complexion. You can pull your last line of defense out and just go heavy on offense. Even though you don't have a power play, in essence you do. And they go with 6 attackers, Broughton, Muller, and Verbeek.
You know what else they're doing is putting big Ken Danico, number 3, up front. He is going to be a jammer in front of Kelly Rudy. Curvers deserves to be there. He's had a whale of a game. Bruce Driver, number 23, is back in defense. This is interesting. Kirk Muller, their captain, has just been pulled, and Claude Loisel is being entrusted with the major face-off, the biggest face-off in this season for the Devils.
turns it to the boards. Back to Driver. Winds up and fires. Deflected. Scramble. It went wide. Stoppage of play as the net was dislodged. And another faceoff will result in the New York Islanders' end with 39 seconds to go.
I think Danico was pushed into the crease by Dennis Potvin. The man that had the chance and really has been tied up so quickly in front was Pat Verbeek. I think the puck ended up on his stick on the shot after the shot from Bruce Driver, but Loisel did what he had to do. He won the faceoff.
And he'll stay out for this one. They pull Verbeek off and now put John McClain in. Broughton and Danico, Curvers and Driver stay. Diddick and Potvin, Henry, Trottier, and Brent Sutter are the Islanders. Trottier and Brent Sutter, because if one centerman is chased, there's still another one out there. Broughton scoops it back to Driver. Hurries it along, but it's blocked down by Brent Sutter. Tries to throw it down, but it's closed off by Driver with 25 seconds to go. A chance for McClain, and that one divingly blocked away by Diddick. Loose puck, a backhander flopped in front, and Rudy is able to hang on with 19 seconds to go.
Man, we are sitting directly in line with the shot that John McClain took. I think it was Diddick that got down to deflect it into the corner. I'm telling you, from here, it looked direct right into the far side past Kelly Rudy. But Diddick made an outstanding play getting back. Boy, interesting situation. Jim Schoenfeld takes off 2/3 of his bread and butter line all year. Kirk Muller and Pat Verbeek. McClain just about came through for him. Here it is. Take a look at this. Here's the shot. Well, it was difficult to tell. Diddick made an outstanding play just to get down and deflect it into the corner.
The move to have Diddick out there, maybe not preconceived other than the fact that he has good experience, but a situation where Diddick has the long reach and certainly extended himself by diving.
He's going to have a real long reach now. That's Gerald Diddick sitting in the penalty box, and Ken Danico, number 3, is off as well. They're off coincidentally. So other than the fact that the Islanders might have wanted to have Diddick out there, and the Devils might have wanted to have Danico out there, it's the only net effect of those coincidentals. Teams will both still be full strength.
19 seconds to go. Terry Simpson talking things over during this timeout with his players. You see Alan Kerr and Henry and Brent Sutter. Boy, there are 3 gritty performers. Have some technical difficulties that you may have noticed. We're trying to correct them as soon as possible. We hope those of you who are watching in Canada are enjoying viewing some of your native sons here performing in the United States at the Byrne Meadowlands Arena. 19,096. They can't get in anymore. Most of them are still here. Loisel on the face-off test with Brent Sutter. Fed to the point. Driver hurries to Curvers. Fires one. Deflected. Rebound. Score!
With 12 seconds to go in this hockey game, John McClain has tied the score. Curvers with a great shot through a crowd. The toughest part for Curvers was settling the puck down. It was bouncing when it came to him. And does Jim Schoenfeld look like a genius? He took Pat Verbeek off. Who did he replace him with? John McClain. Watch the right of your screen. That's where the rebound ended up. No one was there but the man in white wearing number 15. And John McClain scores his 6th goal in the last 5 games, including the final game of the season where he scored in overtime to put the Devils in the playoffs. And this game is knotted at 4 apiece with 12 seconds to go.
Man, oh man, oh man, is he fired up. You can tell.
How about Claude Loisel? He was the man that refused to be beat on the faceoffs.
It's going to take more time to determine who will take game 4. 2 seconds. 1. 60 minutes won't do it. tire at Chicago and then got the winner. He forces another overtime here. If you're rolling the dice, you don't come up with him. But if you're going to bet on who'll get a clutcher, you got to say John McClain.
Well, it's about time we took a game past midnight, isn't it? 4-4, 12 seconds to go is when John McClain tied it. And the Devils, well, they had the lead and lost it, but they refused to quit in the final analysis, and that's why we're going into overtime.
You hear that music? That ushers you to an intermission, and Tom Mees will recap all the other NHL action for you.
Late in the second period, Bobby Smith takes a routine backhanded shot. Liut makes the save, but Claude Lemieux tries to poke at it. Stefan Richer finally says, I know where it is, and he pokes it in. 2-2 at that point. 59 seconds into the third period. Hartford tied at 2 in a game they have to win. Dave Babbage comes down the ice, and he'll rocket one in past Waugh. 3-2 Whalers, Babbage's second goal. 4:06 into the third. Richer shoots from the point. Liut saves. Sheldon picks up the rebound, sends it to Bobby Smith on the side of the net. Smith pokes it in. He's a Whaler nemesis, ties the game at 3. Canadians still on the power play. Richer sends a blast. Rebounds from behind it. Ryan Walters somehow knocks it in off Liut. 4-3 Montreal. Then 11:20 into the third period. Back come the Whalers. Whalers could have died at that point, but they don't. Kevin Dineen, the heart and soul of this hockey team, gets a nice pass from the point, and he sends the rocket past Patrick Waugh. We're tied at 4. Whalers now in a 2-on-1. Kerry Wilson takes the puck down ice. Waugh gets the save, but Stu Gavin, the former Maple Leaf, puts it in. Whalers lead 5-4. Then it's Kevin Dineen. Nice cross-ice pass. And he takes the pass and rockets one past Waugh. The Whale wins it 7-5. Montreal leads it 3-1 in the series, Game 5, Tuesday night at the Forum in Montreal. Now, our situation currently, the late goal by John McClain of the New Jersey Devils with 12 seconds left to go in regulation time tied this game up between the Devils and Islanders at 4. We're getting set now as they resurface the ice for a Stanley Cup sudden death overtime, and I'll be back with the rest of the highlights from a busy night around the National Hockey League. The road to the Cup continues in a moment. Tom Mees, your Between Periods host, and we'll be going back to the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Devils and Islanders tied at 4, headed for sudden death overtime. Devils lead the series 2-1. In Winnipeg tonight, the Winnipeg Jets had a chance to draw even with the Edmonton Oilers, and boy, did they look good after the early going in this game. Let's go to the highlights now from the arena. No score first period. Jets in the power play. Randy Carlyle cross to Dave Ellett. He lets it go. Grant Fuhr gets a piece of it, but it trickles in. 1-0 Winnipeg. Then Winnipeg comes down the ice on a 3-on-1. Oiler defenseman Steve Smith falls down. Dale Hawerchuk in front of Ian Duncan, who gives to Andrew McBain, and it's 2-0 Winnipeg. Hey, the Oilers look rattled. Second period, Winnipeg on the power play. Mario Marois to Dale Hawerchuk. He draws Grant Fuhr over and puts it by him to Paul McLean, who puts it in the net. 3-0 Winnipeg. Then Edmonton finally gets on the board. Yari Curry's shot from the slot hits the post, but Craig Simpson is there. He got a big goal in game 2. He puts this one in to get Edmonton on the board. Edmonton on the power play, 5-on-3. Gretzky on the point gives to Curry, who lets a rocket go, and it goes in, 3-2. Now on the Edmonton power play, Gretzky again, this time where he's most dangerous, behind the net. He passes across the slot to Charlie Huddy, who one-times it. 2 late goals in the second period tied the game at 3 for Edmonton. Third period, it was all Oilers, so it seemed. Jeff Courtnall behind the net works his way out in front. Berthiaume to save, but Norm Lacombe bats it in. That made it 4-3. Edmonton now on the power play again. Gretzky on the right side slows it down. Back to Curry in full stride. He blasted past Berthiaume. Gretzky no goals, but oh yes, 4 assists. Edmonton wins it 5-3. Winnipeg had a great shot when it was 3-3. Edmonton had a major penalty against them, but Winnipeg took a major penalty of their own, nullifying that, and the rest was history. Edmonton should wrap this series up Tuesday night back home in Northlands Coliseum. St. Louis Blues and the Chicago Blackhawks in a Norris Division semifinal. Game 4 tonight at Chicago Stadium. Blues led the series 2-1 coming in. First period, we'll pick it up. Game scoreless, and Gordy Roberts' shot for St. Louis is knocked in by rookie Tony Herkus on the power play. Remember that name. Herkus made it 1-0. Now the Blackhawks in the power play. Rick Vaive gets the puck out to Steve Larmer. Actually, this is Savard with the puck. And Larmer actually puts it in, and we're tied at 1. Later in the first period, Everett Santapass on the breakaway. Greg Millen goes down way too soon, and Santapass just slides it under his underarm. 2-1 Chicago. Second period, Blackhawks power play. Trent Yawney winds up. Fires. Rick Vive is in front to tip it in. Chicago led 3-1. Looking good at home, and the foghorn was blasting. Then Brett Hull. His dad played for Chicago, didn't he? Brett Hull gets his own rebound and puts it in for St. Louis. 3-2 Chicago. Now the Blues in the power play, and Doug Gilmour clearly beats Darren Pang, who was screened on the play. That ties the game at 3. Late in the second, another Blackhawk power play. Everett Santapas, playing with a broken hand, gets the rebound and puts it by Greg Millen. Nice going, Everett. Seconds remaining in the period then. Tony Herkus deflecting in Doug Gilmour's blast. His second goal of the night, another power play marker. Look at Herkus get the blade of the stick down there perfectly to tie the game at 4. Third period, Chicago power play. Dennis Savard with a shot, knocked in by Rick Vive, who's having a great year in the Windy City. 5-4 Chicago. Now at 5:54 of the third. This is Paul Cavallini. Look at him pick out Herkus in the slot, and a beautiful goal. And we're tied at 5. Now St. Louis shorthanded. Herkus already has the hat trick. Gets a pass from Gilmour off the boards. Cuts in. Willie scores 4th of the night. Yes, he does. And the rookie puts up 4 goals. St. Louis beat Chicago 6-5. And the only other game going on at this hour at the Forum in Los Angeles, the Calgary Flames led early 3-0. But Los Angeles has made it 3-2. That's in the second period of play now at the Forum. Well, the New York Islanders came into the third period losing this game 3-1, but you see our score now 4-4 heading into overtime. The goal that gave the New York Islanders the lead in this game in the third period of play came off the stick of Pat LaFontaine, as has so many of the big goals. Behind the net, the Devils can't clear it out. Makela to LaFontaine at 18:30. With a minute and a half to go, the Islanders led it 4-3. But with just 12 seconds to go, New Jersey having the goaltender on the bench, the Devils called a timeout to set up this play. And the drive by John McClain is in the net by Kelly Hrudey. And with 12 seconds left, McClain, who's been a big hero over the last 8 days for the New Jersey Devils, has tied the game at 4. We are set for one of the most exciting moments in sports, overtime in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's go back now to the Meadowlands. Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Tom, for ushering us through that intermission. How will Cinderella do as midnight approaches here at the Meadowlands Arena? We want to welcome the viewers in Canada, along with Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich from the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Sudden death overtime is underway as Makela tries to play it along to Trottier, but has to go another way instead. It's to Henry. Henry flips. It ricochets to Muller, who starts out. Kurt Muller to Cirella in a 3-on-2. Offside was the off-wing Broughton.
The shame of the offside is that save by Kelly Hrudey won't be registered. I mean, a rocket was fired. Aaron Broughton forced the play a little bit on the far side. How do you do that? Maybe that's a sign of youth. I mean, you can't even be close to an offside. That's a 3-on-2. You're in an overtime situation. Darn it. Don't even be close to an offside. Once again, the sign of youth. That's why we're in overtime. The New Jersey Devils came into the third period with a 3-1 lead. Went into a complete turtle. I mean, they shelled from the first part of the third period. The Islanders tied, and they had to come back and tie it with 12 seconds to go. The Devils did, to get us into overtime. But they got to be smart now.
Conacher tips away from Dalgarno. Loisel drops it in. Set up behind by Kelly Hrudey. Leiter starts it on for the Islanders. Slides one that is chipped back in by Sutter. Moving in is Lauer. Checked by Brown. They waltz to the boards, and Lauer centered just away from Dalgarno. And a close call there. Leiter back to get it for the Islanders. Sutter drives it back in. Moving for it, Belichick. But it's tipped along by Lauer. Belichick patrolling behind. Falls, but gets it on to Loisel. Loisel moving on. And a shift change for New Jersey as he sends the Islanders back to chase. This is Conroy, missing for LaFontaine, getting Driver. Conroy goes further. Driver says no, but has to get help. Curvers is there, chased off by Kerr. Puck to LaFontaine. Oh, and he wanted to reach but couldn't. Stoppage of play. The net has become dislodged. Sudden death overtime has provided some excitement tonight. Buffalo has won. Philadelphia has won as well. In their history, the Islanders have won 23 and lost 7 in overtime, including game 1 of this series on a goal by LaFontaine. The Devils have as a franchise through Colorado and Kansas City have only played 2 overtime games. They lost as Colorado to Philadelphia on a goal by Mel Bridgman, and then Wednesday night to the Islanders in LaFontaine. Tom Curvers, who kept the puck moving so McLean could tie this game. Feeds on to John McLean, and then it's Johnson. Hurrying in is Sundstrom to Driver. Save made by Rudy. Sundstrom to McLean. Oh, and he went wide with a bullet shot.
He had it on his stick.
McLean sails one off the rail, and Potvin is back. What a storybook finish that might have been. Just for a couple of inches. Verbeek dumps it in. Broughton hurried back to get onside so that play can continue. But it is LaFontaine striding back for the Islanders. Has Wood at the line. Carries in. And holds. Banks for Wood, but gets Muller. 2:20 gone in overtime. A 3-on-3. Broughton has Muller breaking. Centers one. And because of Wood's checking, Pat Verbeek couldn't take it. LaFontaine moving on Randy Belichick. Hooked at by Belichick. Can't get a shot away. Joe Cirella starts it back for New Jersey. If they hurry, it might be a 3-on-2. But offside is called once more on New Jersey at the line.
Well, this one couldn't be avoided. An outstanding play by Kenny Morrow. He had pinched in, gambling at the other end, and you know what? He got caught. But he dug in, and those old knees held up. He came all the way back and pushed Kirk Muller offside at the crucial moment when Muller was trying to stay onside. Boy, a couple of great chances by the Devils early in overtime. There's a shot by Driver. Rudy has trouble controlling the rebound. So Alan Kerr just dumps it in behind. Bingo! John McLean shoots it, 8 to 12 inches wide of Kelly Rudy. Cut it a little too fine. You know, with the velocity that he put on that shot, he just has to hit an open part of the net. He cut it a little fine.
He's come to the bench. It is Brown on right wing, Anderson on left wing, and at center, Loisel. Loisel won 2 key faceoffs in the last half-minute of play, and eventually got things started on the play that forced this sudden death overtime. Mikko Makala is back, and he's had a key role for the Islanders in their comeback. At one time, they trailed 3-0. They went ahead 4-3 before the last-second heroics by the Devils. Perry Anderson, checked by Conroy. Loisel, held by Janssen. Stoppage of play.
Well, I can tell you something that Jim Schoenfeld has told his Devils players in the locker room between periods. Gentlemen, you laid back in the third period, and it just about cost us this hockey game. The Devils are pouring it on. 2 men in deep forechecking, 1 guy high, so it's a 2-1-2 forechecking situation. They're just going for it. I mean, they realized their mistake a little late. They had the game put away after 2 periods, but now they're pouring it on.
Largely because of their history, no Devil has scored an overtime winner in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Potvin, Morrow, and LaFontaine have collected 2. Brian Trottier won among the players in the Islander lineup.
You're right when you say largely because of their history. Coming into this series, Dennis Potvin, with his 180 playoff games, had more playoff games than the entire Devils team put together. They have since passed him because they're gaining at a rate of 19 to 20 per game.
And it is Dennis Potvin along to Lauer, and was he ever hammered by Wolanin? Ken Daneyko back for New Jersey. Railed back down, and Potvin goes back to play. This time they'll bring the face-off back near Sean Burke. 33 shots Islanders, 23 shots Devils. Doesn't mean a thing. In the regular season, the Islanders didn't lose in overtime. The Devils only 3 times. At one time, Winnipeg hadn't lost. The Jets wound up winning the most games in overtime, but they did lose. The Islanders, the only unblemished team. In the seconds before a faceoff takes place, you size up the players who are on the ice, not only for their skills, but for their heart. You see 2 tenacious ones now. It is Didick tipping. Going back is Basson, but Joe Cirella is there. Wraps it along to Brown. Sprinting to take the pass is Conacher. Conacher wedged. Can get no further. Loisel was offside. thundering crowd, 19,096 at the Byrne Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey, just 5 miles away from New York City. This is Game 4, best of 7 Stanley Cup playoff. And the Devils have the lead in the series at 2-1. Game 4 up for grabs, along with Bill Clement. I'm Mike Emmerich. The goal scorers tonight, Driver and Brown have 1. McLean with a pair, including the one that forced overtime. For the Islanders, Kerr, Brent Sutter, Lauer, and LaFontaine. Ron Hogarth side by side with Ray Scapanello, one of the linesmen. The other in this game is Randy Mitton. In deep is Sundstrom. Wants McLean. Wood is there. And it's shuffled loose by Leiter so that Wood can wedge it back out. 4 minutes gone in this 20-minute sudden death overtime period. Johnson checked by Morrow. Sundstrom pivoting with it. Curvers tipped out of play. Tom Curvers has been such a key.
Boy, hasn't he? Out of the University of Minnesota Duluth, from Bloomington, Minnesota. Ex-Montreal Canadian and Buffalo Sabre. He has been outstanding along with Bruce Driver. Here's a shot. I thought Mark Johnson, wearing 12 there, was going to set a pick on Randy Wood. But Randy Wood was able to shake on by him and get a piece of that wrist shot by Tom Curvers. The towers of power to me. Danico, Wolanin, Curvers, Driver, and the Islanders have just refused to quit.
LaFontaine wanted the bounce, but didn't get it. Crowd reacts with a big ooh as Curvers banks one back in. Sundstrom waltzed around by Janssen. In to help him out is LaFontaine. And LaFontaine can escape with it. A pass misses for Conroy, but up the wing is Wood. Trying to get by. He's taken down from behind. What'll be the call? A hooking minor. And a power play coming up to the Islanders in sudden death overtime.
He had to call it. John McLean's mistake, however, was made in the neutral zone. He was coming back with Randy Wood going wide. As soon as Randy Wood got a step on him, all McLean had to do was turn around and try and watch the pass because he had ample time to cut the pass. Instead, he decided to watch. See McLean, he never saw the pass coming. So Wood goes by him. That's a pretty decent call, Mike. McLean was arguing it, but he never did touch the puck, did he? If he gets part of the puck, moves it to the corner, and then trips Randy Wood, no penalty is called, but he never did make contact with the puck. That's a nice call by Hogarth.
For the 4th time by our count this year, a team has a power play in sudden death. The Islanders had a shortened one that carried over from the 3rd period in Game 1. The Devils had one of a full 2 minutes in Game 1 in the overtime. And Buffalo, in its victory tonight over Boston, scored a power play goal. The longest 2 minutes of the career of John McLean are about to begin.
You took the words absolutely right out of my mouth. No question. No question. These are the longest 2. And Jim Schoenfeld can argue the call all he wants. But this is the trend this year. Overtime means nothing to the officials, at least from what we have seen, and reports from other games around the NHL concur with that. Doesn't matter if it's the 2nd minute of the 1st period or the 2nd period or overtime, they are calling them. To Ron Hogarth's credit, we had mentioned in the 3rd period that he had seemed to change his style a little bit. Well, he's back.
They have 6 collected overtime winners out there. 2 in LaFontaine, 2 in Trottier, and 2 in Potvin. Makala and Didick are the other Islanders. Mark Johnson to take the face-off with LaFontaine. Velishek and Sorella in back. Joining Johnson up front for the shorthanded Devils is Sundstrom. Sorella wraps, and he gets the right bounce. Angled off the boards, and so the Islanders must regroup. Didick playing some catch with Dennis Potvin. Trottier starting back. Sorella retreats along with Velishek. Sean Burke, rookie sensation in goal, slugs it ahead. Shift change for New Jersey up front. Loisel and Brown have joined Velishek and Sorella. Dennis Potvin with a crisp pass on the wing to Brian Trottier. Makala to the slot, hurried a shot, and it trickled on goal for the stop by Burke.
Wow, there was a huge hole in the slot for a moment, then the Devils took it away. They took it away long enough to deflect it away from Mikko Makela, so he only got partial wood on it. What a picture of concentration this entire game. Even when things seem to be caving in and the wheels falling off in the third period, Sean Burke only had a couple of goals get by him, but when he had to, he made the save, was very cool in making his decisions as to whether to freeze the puck or put it back into play. Very difficult kid to rattle.
Game from the Toronto Marlies to the Canadian Olympic team. Pat LaFontaine, a member of the '84 U.S. Olympic team. Claude Loisel gives way on this face-off to Mark Johnson. Johnson, another Olympian from 1980 in the U.S. Sundstrom has joined Johnson up front, and it will be still Cirella and Velishek in back with 1:17 to go on this power play. Makela and Sutter are now the wings for LaFontaine. Leiter and Janssen in back as the big crowd chants defense. Velishek checked on the play by Sutter. It's booted back to Leiter. Hands over to Thomas Janssen. Janssen has a man in the corner. That's Makela. Gives it back to him. The return and then to Leiter. Janssen doesn't want to fire. Leiter does. Knocked down in front. LaFontaine a shot. Scramble in front. Sutter couldn't find the good handle he wanted. And back up with it shorthandedly as Johnson to lay it back in with 45 seconds to go on the power play. Again, a shift change, New Jersey. Kerbers and Driver are in back. Brown and Loisel up front. LaFontaine starts ahead, gives it to Makela. Feeds over to Sutter. In front, LaFontaine couldn't direct it home. And it is Driver clearing.
Burke didn't know he had it, but he had one pad down, and he had no idea where it was going, but he made the right decision. Take what area you can away low. It wasn't a hard pass coming from Sutter. LaFontaine deflected it, and Burke saved the day once again for the Devils, as he's done so many times in the last two games.
Along with Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich, glad you've joined us tonight. We're in overtime at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The tie is 4-4. 1 second on McLean, and he's out of the box. The Devils have killed it off. Here comes Muller. Hands to McLean. To Muller. Backhander and save. Rebound is popped up in the air. Scramble. McLean tried a shot that was tipped away. I believe Leiter got a piece of that one. A penalty coming up to the Islanders.
It doesn't get much better anywhere. A power play coming up. You know, Kirk Muller made the right play. He took his time. He pulled it to his backhand and tried to go to the long side on Kelly Hrudey, and Hrudey simply stoned him with an outstanding save. And we know what he can do in overtime.
Last year, Rudy's game in Washington started at 7:30 Eastern and ended at 1:55, and he was the one on top at the end.
Well, I wonder when the last time Kelly Hrudey has played past midnight. It has to be on Easter Eve. Look at McLean's chance. This is after the Muller chance. It comes right out, and McLean, having come close to being the GOAT, being in the penalty box, after being a hero at the end of the game with 12 seconds to go, just about was a hero once again. But Kelly Hrudey stood his ground, and there sits Bob Basson. Here go the Devils.
They have the bread and butter line that so far has been held from the table in the playoffs. Bruce Driver shot wide. Morrow able to scoop it away. Trottier clears. Driver keeps. Hurried it to Broughton. Then to Kirk Muller, who pivots from Morrow as it's Verbeek up with it. It's banked back to Driver once more. Finesses over to Tom Kerbers. Lost the handle, regains to Muller. In front for Verbeek. Driver has to retrieve. Off of Broughton, Muller is there. Checked by Conroy, they scoop it back to Driver. Driver, a big drive, knocked down in front, rebound, sent wide. Makela fights his way behind to try to play it. Broughton trying to turn from him. Aaron Broughton dumps it back to Muller. Checked on the play by Morrow. Pat Verbeek trying to get to it. It's poked out in front and thrown away by Trottier. Driver around to Broughton. 1:03 to go on the power play. Back to Driver. Over to Aaron Broughton. A shot blocked off by Hrudey. And then it struck the outside of the goal. Man, oh man, oh man. This is Sean Burke connecting on to Kerbers. Then to Johnson. Long for McLean. Gets it to Kerbers. got to the slot, but no further than Conroy. Sudden death overtime. We hope you're enjoying it. The tie is 4. 11:40 to go in this fourth period. Half a minute to go on New Jersey's power play. Brian Trottier lobs it back down.
Well, I can't wait to see the attack zone time on this one.
They've had it almost all, haven't they? Sundstrom tosses on to Mark Johnson. Watched by Potvin. The shot is slowed, and it's blocked away by Rudy. Chopped along. Danico got some wood on it, but has to recover at center ice. Loses to Brent Sutter. Here's Sutter starting in. To Potvin for the shot. Snared by Burke. As penalty time expires. Incredible.
Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Denis Potvin, that man's wrist shot, let me assure you that he can let it go as hard as a lot of players in the NHL can slap it. And here he is from the top of the circle. Look at that extension by Sean Burke. All the way down into the splits. Janssen at the blue line just stays onside, and a nice feed from Brent Sutter. Back to Denis Potvin, who is up on the play. Those 34-year-old legs carrying him into this fourth period. The fourth game in 5 nights for these guys. If there's any question about the conditioning of these teams, let's put that to rest. They have the legs.
Just under half of the power play time was spent in the attack zone. 46 seconds. They got 2 shots. Wood tries to muscle it in front, and it squirts wide. Stepping to this one is Brown. Slugs it back out. Diddick and Potvin, the defense. There'll be an icing call, but he took it short of icing and then banked it out of play. This will be a face-off that will be in Rudy's end of the ice.
I'll tell you what, Pat LaFontaine is getting all the ice he wants. He's got Alan Kerr on one side, Randy Wood on the other. And, boy, I haven't been watching closely enough to say this with complete certainty, but I think LaFontaine's been on there, except for the penalty killing, every second shift.
I think you're right, yeah.
He's double shifting them.
Loisel will take this face-off with LaFontaine. Scoops it back to Velishek. Fires! Saved by Rudy, and he pounces on it to avoid a rebound. And again, a face-off near him.
Loisel is over talking to Ron Hogarth for some reason. You can see him in the white jersey. There he is, 19. Has he done his share tonight? Here is Loisel stripping LaFontaine of the draw. Back to Velishek. Smart play by Velishek. He moves. He's waiting for a lane to open up, and there you saw it open up. There's no point in jamming it into a crowd. It's nice to have a screen. It's nice to get a deflection, but there's a certain point past which the screen becomes non-functional. You know, it's too crowded in front. You just can't let it go into a huge crowd.
If you're watching in the Atlantic time zone in Canada, you know this is long past midnight and into a new day. Those in the Eastern time zone of North America, it is now Monday. And Conroy, nearing the midway point of this first sudden death overtime period, hands it over to Janssen. The forechecker staggering Verbeek. The play made back only as far as halfway. Curvers drops it back. Here is a 2-on-1. Lauer, save made by Burke.
Well, I'll tell you, if the Soviets have their satellite dishes set up and happen to be pulling in our show, they will know all about Sean Burke. He beat the Soviet Union in the Izvestia tournament when Canada won the gold medal of that tournament right in Moscow. So they know about Sean Burke. But the rest of the world is basically still discovering this guy. What a difference he has made to this franchise. And I think Dave King, the coach of Team Canada, was the most prophetic when he said, expecting it to mean next year, he said Sean Burke will change the complexion of the Patrick division. But I think he intended it to mean next season, not so soon this year.
His first start was in Boston. Shaky, but the Devils won it. And that was the story down the stretch. He plays, they win. Velishek hooked down by Wood. Cross-bodied by Wood. In comes Johnson as well. Stoppage of play. You mentioned that satellite dish over in the Soviet Union. It's about, shortly after 6 a.m. I wonder if Mr. Fedosov, if there was such a thing, might be watching right now. There are strong rumors that he might already have signed with the New Jersey Devils for $500,000.
Right. It's 6 a.m. in the Soviet Union. Everybody will be at work. Nobody will be watching.
Janssen a shot off the glass. Pivoting with it is LaFontaine. To Conroy and back for LaFontaine. Got good body position. Feeds over to Wood. Wood leaned down by Cirella. In comes Kerr for a freight train. And Cirella's hurt. It'll cost Wood for cross-checking.
Some pretty vicious hit by Alan Kerr. And obviously at this stage of the game there would be a tendency to stay down to make it look good. Well, guess what? The penalty's already been called and Cirella's still on all fours in the corner. Randy Wood has it behind. Cirella is on the chase. He whacks him down, waiting for the puck. Boy, he was off balance too when Kerr hit him. So Ron Hogarth has stamped his signature on this overtime once again and called a penalty to Alan Kerr. And the Devils will get a 2-minute chance to end it.
Cirella seems to be okay. A power play will be beginning in just a moment. Let's go to Tom Mees.
All right, Mike Emmerich at the Forum in Los Angeles. The LA Kings have come back from a 3-0 deficit on this goal coming up by Steve Duchesne. Fenton takes the shot, deflects to Duchesne, right face-off circle. He scores to make it 3-all. But just moments ago, Calgary's Tim Hunter with a wraparound play between the legs of goaltender Healy. It is Calgary 4, Los Angeles 3 late in the second period. Let's get back to New Jersey in overtime.
Boy, Calgary's got all those big scorers that they can count on in a tie game. Tim Hunter.
The Mavericks get one.
You bet. He's a junkyard dog. He'd make our junkyard dog all-star team, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he sure would. 10-12 elapsed time in sudden death overtime is the time on the call. Boxed is Kerr, and the call was boarding. Kerbers and Driver will be the point men once they get things set up. Muller with Broughton on the left and Verbeek on the right. Trottier, a penalty killer, along with Crom. Didick and Potvin in back. Scrapping for it and prevailing is Crom. Bruce Driver glides behind, and they've already changed lines up front, have the Islanders. Sutter is there now, working with Thomas Janssen. Didick drills. Driver can't stop that tough one. 9:10 to go in sudden death overtime. It is a 4-4 tie. John McLean forced it with a goal with 12 seconds left for New Jersey. Broughton hands to Pat Verbeek. Waits, directing some traffic away from the play as Muller. It goes to Driver. They angle for Verbeek, but in the way and reading the play nicely, Didick. Keeping it as Driver. Hands to Muller. Looks for a pass, doesn't have it. Finesses on goal, and Rudy is able to hang on.
Well, you called it right when you said a nice read by Didick just prior to this sequence. I think it was Tom Curvers over on the far side that thought he had a seam through the top of that box, and Didick read it perfectly. And after the fact, watch 16 go for the net. That's Verbeek. Muller did a little dipsy-doodle with the puck and just tried to slip it through Steve Conroy's skates. He's 33 in blue. Kelly Rudy down on all fours made the save with his bandana flying at the back of his helmet.
Very few have left here. There were 2 late goals. It was 3-3 midway in the third. LaFontaine scored with a minute and a half to go to put the Islanders ahead and capped a comeback of 4 straight goals for the Islanders to overtake the Devils, who had a 3-0 lead. And then McLean sent all the fans into waving those handkerchiefs you saw just a moment ago. Everyone got one coming into the arena tonight. Last night it was pom-poms, green and white, red and white. But they want one more good wave of those toys before they leave. From this tie-up, McLean to Johnson and back to Bruce Driver. The shot is Wielenen's, and it's wide. Stays on the back of the net. And the Devils are able to dig it loose. Punch back to Driver. Looks for a screen. Gives to McLean. Hurried one, but just didn't have the bouncing puck.
They had Rudy out of position, too.
Wielenен golfs it back across. Johnson to Wolanin, and the wrist shot sails wide. McLean can't get the backhander. Forehander by Sundstrom, cracked off Lauer. And the Islanders able to poke it back down. 20 seconds to go on the power play. Driver crisply to Sundstrom. Given up to Thomas Johnsson, who starts ahead. He has Sutter with him. Has to duel with Wolanin first and is content just to drive it in deep. 5 seconds left on the power play. Giving chase is Dennis Potvin. And out of the box comes Alan Kerr. The third overtime power play has been killed off. Sullivan flips. Back to get it is Potvin. Dennis Potvin laying it back out now between Kerr and Johnsson. Drilled further by Sutter. Belichick wrapped up by Kerr. Dennis Potvin pivoting. Hands on to Kerr. Picks up Sutter. Up the left wing, he has Johnsson, but a shift change is on. Can't finesse Sorella, and the Devils close ranks. Brown able to poke it back. Ahead with this is Loisel. Stepped by Morrow. The loose one, Sullivan and Wood contest for. Wood fires it around. Kneeling to block is Curvers, and the puck popped off an Islander, out of play.
Take a breath. Here's the attack zone time on that last Devils power play. 55 seconds. A lot of scrambling around Kelly Rudy, but only one shot on him. I'll tell you one of the problems the Devils have been having forechecking in this fourth period, especially when Dennis Potvin is on the ice and goes back in deep to get it. Gerald Diddick has been running such excellent interference for him that the Devils have really had a problem when that pair has been on the ice doing any forechecking in deep. Diddick always sets a pick on the first forechecker in there, and every time Dennis Potvin has gone back to get it, he's been able to make a nice pass to get it out of the zone.
Interesting. Well, watch for that. Now they have Leiter and Morrow out right now on defense. As ahead comes Alan Kerr. Can't get it through Curvers, and then we get an offside call. We mentioned the other games going on in the NHL tonight. Maybe you're just joining us. Where have you been?
Here's how close it has been in this series. Those numbers are pretty well indicative of what has been going on in this Patrick division all year long.
The overtime winner was by LaFontaine. The other winners were by Johnson in Game 2 and Ken Danico in Game 3. Who will have the winner tonight? Maybe him? Maybe him. A lot of Islander fans would certainly bet on Pat LaFontaine, who had the winner in Game 1. And, of course, in Game 7 of the opening round last year against Washington. Joe Sorella gets it through to Johnson. And it's tipped deep by Leiter. You can hear the conversation back in the Islander end. Puck brushed around by Belichick. Chopped out by Ken Morrow. It seemed to glance off the referee, but Dalgarno can move further. That one hopped off LaFontaine. There would have been an offside. Sundstrom flipped. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Islanders. And another power play in sudden death overtime.
Patrick Sundstrom was the man that drew it. Kenny Morrow is the man that was assessed the penalty. Morrow ends up in a tough spot here. Watch him come towards Sundstrom. That's a tough situation for a defenseman. You obviously want to be backing up. Once you end up face to face, if you don't get a piece of that guy, you know that he's gone east and you are gone west. So Kenny Morrow stuck out his leg. Sundstrom went down and Hogarth called it. Another look at it. Sundstrom's winding up, and you can see that Ken Morrow didn't have a chance to move back at all. You know, part of the trouble when you're trying to check a man like that, when Sundstrom goes to turn, obviously his center of gravity changes. You look at Bill Torrey making notes about something. But when Sundstrom leans, Mike, to go around somebody, naturally, if he gets his torso by him, his knees are going to lock with the other guy's knees, and it always looks worse than it is. Morrow didn't really stick out his knee in that penalty. It was just that Sundstrom was in the position to go down.
Sundstrom has come to the bench, and again, they'll start this overtime power play with the Muller, Broughton, and Verbeek line.
Well, the Devils have been able to get a 33% success rate in their power plays tonight. This is updated through the last Devils power play. They've spent half the time in the attack zone, 9 shots, 5 quality shots. All in all, not a bad power play. Far better than what we saw last night. Obviously, the key number is the 2 for 6. They've scored a couple of them.
There is concern on the part of the Islanders because during that last play, the scoreboard clock did not move. Still 2 minutes are up on the board against Ken Morrow. Off-ice officials tonight are from Washington, and it may have just been a mistake in not turning the clock on. The other end also shows the same time, so there's not a discrepancy in one board as opposed to the other. Ron Horgarth is trying to sort this out and may just elect to take a certain number of seconds off the clock that he feels appropriate. 5 sounds good, he says, so that's what's coming down.
I know it's late, but you don't think anybody nodded off down there, do you? Think anybody nodded off in the penalty box? Nah, they couldn't have. I know it's late.
We mentioned those other games. In overtime on the power play, Buffalo evens it with Boston. Philadelphia wins in overtime. Murray Craven, the only Flyer with a career-high season this year. Detroit just skunked Toronto 8-0. We'll pick up some others as we go. But here is Curvers. Along to Pat Verbeek. Wedged off by Diddick. Potvin slugs it along. Driver keeps it moving, but it's Diddick to flip off Driver. Brian Trottier trying to golf it further. 20 seconds gone on the Devils power play. In case you're just joining us, this is the 4th power play in sudden death overtime. We're in the first overtime period with 5:50 remaining. In comes Muller, pressed to the boards by Diddick. Verbeek canceled out by Trottier. Potvin crunches there with Broughton. They still scrap for it, and Broughton points it back to Bruce Driver. Driver returns to Broughton. Then to Driver once more. Here's Broughton. Side for Verbeek, but blocked away by Dennis Potvin. Driver returns for Verbeek, and Potvin able to clear it back down. Shift change on now for the Islanders up front. They bring out Sutter, and in back Conroy. Moving in Curvers to Muller, a shot. Ricocheted off a man in front who goes down, and that was McLean.
You bet, it hit the back of McLean. Muller was going high over the glove of Rudy, and it hit McLean in the back of the leg.
Brent Sutter has cleared. 40 seconds to go on the power play. This is big Craig Wolanin. Left behind, and ahead with it comes Sutter. Save, rebound, score! Brent Sutter has won the game for the New York Islanders with a shorthanded goal. The series is even at 2 games each. 30 seconds we're still showing on the minor penalty to Ken Morrow, who has come from the penalty box, greatly relieved to congratulate Brent Sutter and his teammates as the Islanders have evened the series 2 games to 2.
I think the Islanders might have lulled the Devils into a sense of at least relaxation for a couple of seconds because we were in the middle of a player change, and Sutter came off the bench. Wolanin came off the bench. Curvers moved it up to Wolanin, and Craig Wolanin had a little trouble in handling it. That's when Sutter broke it up, went into the 2-on-1. He still had to get his own rebound. Sean Burke was there for the first one, as he has been all night long.
Kelly Hrudey trudges down to the happy Islanders locker room. When you look at key players, it was Brent Sutter who, after a lull of over 10 minutes from the time that the Islanders had closed the gap to 2, closed it himself to just 1. Quickly, Lauer knotted the game at 3, and then the Islanders went ahead to see it tied and then won it on this one.
There is Sutter going around Wolanin. He had Makela with him, and Burke made the first save, but Sutter followed up. He doesn't turn away. He knows what to do. Mr. Follow-through. The whole family follows through. Curvers was just trying to get it turned up ice. Devils are on a power play, and Craig Wolanin was handcuffed with the pass. He was coming back towards Curvers. Sutter's first shot, his second shot, did he hit it? Did I see what I think I thought I saw? It going off of Tom Curvers' stick? Maybe we can see it from this angle. Let's watch it. Watch for the Devils defenseman stick right here, Curvers. Now watch. You bet Brent Sutter never touched that puck. Tom Curvers,
Isn't that
in a desperation attempt to try and block the shot, put it in his own net.
starting time for Game 6 here in the Meadowlands this Thursday, April 14th, is 7:45.
For the first time in Stanley Cup history, a game is won in overtime on a shorthanded goal. And the guy who got it is our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game. From the little town of Viking in Alberta, Brent Sutter.
Well, he got such a big goal in the third period, and then to go ahead and do it. You know, he deserved Player of the Game just because of the way he's played in the first 3 games of this series in controlling the Muller line. But for his offensive exploits and his defensive excellence, our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game, Brent Sutter of the Islanders. What a hockey game.
Was it ever? And I don't know how Tom Mees is ever going to select a 7-up play of the night when we had 3 games in overtime and some spectacular goals scored in regulation. But Tom, good luck. It's all yours.
All right, Mike. Well, I'll tell you how I'm going to select them. I'm not going to select 1 play of the night. I'm going to select 2 plays of the night. Let's not forget the Devils had this goal with 12 seconds left in regulation time by John McClain. That's the reason we're still here right now talking about it. The rebound to McClain. He scored in 1948 of regulation. And the game winner actually goes in off the stick of Tom Kerbers. They credit the goal to the Islander captain, Brent Sutter. This is the 2nd own goal we've had tonight. Remember, Dale Hunter had one earlier in the Washington-Philly game, but those are our 7-up plays of the night. What a night of hockey on the road to the Cup. We'll be back to wrap it up as we head toward Game 5 in just a moment. Highlights of a very exciting day on the golf links at the Masters, and all the Major League Baseball scores and highlights, as well as a complete Stanley Cup wrap-up. Now let's go through the Stanley Cup action. Only 1 game still ongoing as we go through the scores. Buffalo wins in overtime over Boston. That series tied at 2. Game 5 Tuesday night in Boston. Washington and Philadelphia, the Flyers come from way back in the 3rd period, win it in overtime on Murray Craven's goal. Flyers lead it 3-1. That'll be our game Tuesday night from Landover, Maryland. Detroit and Toronto. Detroit shutting out Toronto 8-0. Red Wings lead the Maple Loafs 3-1. They'll be at home at Joe Louis Arena on Tuesday night. Montreal and Hartford. Hartford wins it 7-5. Canadians still lead the series, though, 3-1. They look to close it out Tuesday night at the Forum. Edmonton and Winnipeg. Winnipeg had a 3-0 lead. Edmonton wins the game 5-3. The Oilers go home for Game 5, leading this series 3-1. St. Louis and Chicago on a seesaw battle. Tony Herkis, the rookie from North Dakota, with 4 goals. St. Louis wins the game 6-5. The Blues go home Tuesday night, looking to close it out, leading 3-1. The only game still ongoing at the 2nd intermission. Late goals in the 2nd period by Tim Hunter and Håkan Loob have given Calgary a 5-3 lead. But the way these 2 teams have been putting pucks in the net, this one is far from over. And our final score in overtime, Brent Sutter gets credit for the goal. The Islanders even the series at 2. They're now 24-7 in career Stanley Cup overtimes. 5-4 the final. I'll be back for a final word on Road to the Cup in just a moment. East Rutherford, New Jersey. Brent Sutter's goal, 15:07 of sudden death overtime. Islanders win it 5-4. The Road to the Cup continues on Tuesday night with Game 5 between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Washington Capitals. Airtime 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific time, live from the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland. Thanks for being with us. It's been a great night of Stanley Cup hockey on Road to the Cup. I'm Tom Mees. For everyone here at ESPN, good night.